Deb, we've been talking during the break about some new things that are coming along up at Hensley Behavioral Health. Let's talk about those just a little bit. So what is going on up there? First of all, you had mentioned that with folks can come and visit their loved ones. What are some of the hours and times that they can do that?
Well, visitation currently is Monday through Friday, 1 to 2, and on the weekends and holidays, 1 to 3.
Okay, weekends and holidays. Seems like a short window of time. Is there sort of a reason for that? Just to maybe not break up that nice pattern that you're trying to put into place?
Unfortunately, it is a short amount of time, and it is also to not overwhelm them and to keep them on a pattern also, and to keep structure, and so that we can get them regimented and ready to go. And how we always make exceptions. If family members need a different time, then we're always willing to do that.
If someone's working,
if somebody's working and they can't make it within those certain regimented times, then we're always willing to do that.
I know we've got rules all throughout the hospital on visiting hours, but there are some exceptions.
Absolutely.
Sort of comes under like a contract, other.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good.
Absolutely.
Now, I'm just thinking, and I'm going to ask Deb on this one, do you ever run across where it's detrimental to the patient to have a loved one come and visit, where it would be better that they not come? Does it upset the patient? Have you ever seen cases like that?
There are times when that occurs because the patient may not understand why they can't leave right then. And they can't, maybe it's early on in the treatment cycle, and they can't see the need to be with us. And sometimes they may not always recognize that loved one as being loving toward them because they're there. And so you may see some friction. And before we want to address that friction, we need to help our patient process and get the medications worked out, work them through the system, and then bring the family in and let them dialogue and work through why they're there.
And medication is a huge component of this, isn't it? Making sure that it's the right, you'd mentioned bipolar, and trying to think, do they still use, what do they use for bipolar folks?
Well, currently the only thing that we are using is a lot of group therapy and medication management.
Okay.
I know in other places, throughout the country, they may have electroshock therapy for younger groups, but since we have the geriatric psych, that's not usually recommended for our population. But
and that's still, the question is still out on that one, big time.
Yes, I mean, I mean, in a younger population, that might be something that might work for, different diagnoses. But for our population, mostly what we utilize is med management, behavioral therapy, or just redirection and de-escalation, things like that. So.
Do you ever have any huge issues between the mixed population that you're serving?
Well, I mean, if we might have, a 56 and an 80-year-old, it could very well happen. But I haven't seen it, and I don't know that Deb has seen it.
Kind of everybody's in their own little world to begin with, so.
And it usually works itself out. I mean, and if we have a large group, like we just recently had, a full house for us would be 15 to 17, and we can cut them in half, and do one group here and one group here.
Right.
So, and we would try to do that.
So that you've always got your team working with a smaller group.
Yes.
Which makes more sense. We all know the benefit of that, of the more one-on-one by doing it that way. What are some other things? We were talking about education.
We would like to start a family support and education group to occur on Tuesdays and Thursdays immediately following visitation.
Oh, what a great idea.
And we'll be able to answer questions that the family may have, and we'll be able then to offer them some insight into what's going on and support them as they go through this process, because a lot of what we deal with is chronic, it's progressive, and our interventions are designed to impact the quality and to impact the here and now. And sometimes we need to help families understand this is what we're doing and this is why.
What a great, and this would be, so in other words, let's say 4 or 5 family members showed
Right.
up from 4 different patients.
Right.
But you'd then bring them together as a group and
Mhm.
try and educate them on what was
Right.
going on.
And family members will all have had different experiences.
Mhm.
They'll be in different positions going through this process, and they can often add a lot to the other person.
Mhm.
This is what we've done. I know how you feel. I've been there.
Right.
You know, and that's where the support comes in, because whether you're a patient or you're the family of the patient,
Mhm.
you're not in it alone.
Right,
Although
and
it feels that
we've
way.
found that with all of our support groups, with all of our community houses,
Mhm.
all of the community houses have a number of support groups for just that type of, you know, for just that reasoning behind it. I was thinking too, with things like dementia, over the course of the years when I've seen folks that truly have Alzheimer's, and the spouse oftentimes thinks, oh, she or he is just pulling your leg, you know, because they'll have those rational moments, or they've, you know, in many cases are so smart, are pretty bright folks, they've learned how to cope.
Yes.
They know they're losing some of their memory, but they've found ways to kind of plug the dam, and oftentimes people aren't aware that, oh, there's nothing wrong with mom, you know, or she's fine. Well, they're not around mom long enough. Or the spouse thinks that, no, they're just being obstinate, stubborn. And that's where education could play such a huge part. That, no, this person truly has a dementia, has an illness, and here's a way that you can help support them. Because it's got to be awfully scary.
Yes, especially
is.
for new diagnoses. And when they came in for something else and we get them off of a medical floor, and now they realize that this is something that was brand new to them, and that now they're going home with this diagnosis that they had no idea that they came into the hospital with.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very, very helpful to family and friends or neighbors if they didn't know that this loved one had this. And so for everyone to start learning a little bit about it, that no, grandpa, grandma, you know, Uncle John is not getting any better from this. So
Yeah. And to let people know that how they can help.
yes.
I always remember with some of the training that I've had over the years, and it was things like with a white dish, and why people were not eating food on this side of the plate, and then with a little training, learning that with Alzheimer's or some of the dementias, that sight is affected, so they're not seeing the food. So if you just move the plate around, suddenly there's another meal. And I mean, it was, I didn't know till I'd had the training. That's why it's so crucial to have this educational piece, this support group, be a part of it. So.
And this will also allow the families to talk about their stress level and identify what they see as the issues, because what I might see as the issue for them, not an issue. So we need to hear what they're dealing with and what they see the issues are, so we can best come up with the interventions.
Right. And I would think it would be things too, like when a loved one goes, let's say they can go home, but they've been diagnosed with a dementia, and now you've educated the family with, here's what you can expect coming down the road. Maybe some safeguards, things to start doing in the home to protect that person, you know, or even a bracelet, or you know, just all sorts of things, so that in case wandering is an
Becomes an
issue.
issue.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's all what you're going to be doing, isn't it?
Right, that's it. And we like the bracelets.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
I
Bracelets
think
are a great idea.
it's really good. My mother-in-law has one. It's called an ice bracelet, and it's in case of emergency, and you flip it over, and it has all of her pertinent information. And it's very important, because wandering will occur. They will go look for something that is familiar. They will seek a family member. So to be prepared, to me, is to be keeping your loved ones safe at all times, and also letting you know what to expect and what kind of interventions are there, community support.
Mm-hmm.
There's a wealth of things that we can tap into.
Mm-hmm. And we've got the resources. I mentioned the community houses again. I know that with the Murup Family Education Center on Aging, they've got an entire resource book that they've created, which certainly goes beyond what is done on the 6th floor, but it's a resource guide that even takes in some of your area. That's all free for folks. They just need to stop by to pick one up and learn more about what's available, because we do have tons of things in the Twin Lakes area available to us. I always call it, I said, yeah, but it's kind of, you got to dig a little bit to find some of them. So, but it's there.
And that speaks to exactly what Deb and I have discussed, is that there's such a need for it here anyway, for the 6th floor and for the population that we serve on the 6th floor, and that, sometimes it is a hidden gem up there that some people, they don't realize that we have up there, and that we can help their loved one if they're at home and they're struggling and they don't know what to do with them. So
is it possible to do respite care? Is that something maybe? No, that's got to be an admission from the doctor. Okay.
And usually admissions that come to us, this is, it's an acute episode of something. And respite care, we're not equipped for. But we can help them with locating some skilled nursing facilities will offer respite care. So we can work with them and network within the community.
Which is wonderful, because as you said, Shannon, it's something that there's not enough of, perhaps. We've got it, but just not enough. But people do need to understand that we've got it right here in our own hospital. When nobody needs us till they need us. Yeah. So, which is why we do the shows like this. We want to be sure that everyone is aware that. Let's go over the criteria once again before our show ends today. It's 55 plus.
Yes.
Okay. And go ahead, Deb.
It's usually we deal with people that are confused, disoriented, have behavioral outbursts, bipolars, schizophrenic diagnoses in this range, the dementia patients, and the Alzheimer's type patients.
Okay. All right. Is there a number where they can get more information?
Our direct number is 870-508-6400.
6400, okay. And that'll get to somebody on that well-trained staff up on the unit. Okay, that's wonderful. Thank you both for being here today.
Oh, thank you.
It's so important, so crucial. We get the message out, let everyone know that we've got an incredible, well-trained, well-experienced, very much experienced staff that's on the 6th floor that know how to take care of your loved ones should the need arise. So don't be afraid to pick up the phone and call 508-6400 if you need to know more about the Hensley Behavioral Health Unit that's located in the hospital. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Donna.
All right, and thank you for joining us today as well. We'll see you again next week on BRMC's Healthy Connections.